as we chronicle every day during these hours, the Republican Party clearly drifting further and further from reality and toward something much darker. It's a phenomenon most acutely present, it would appear, in our country's fight against coronavirus. The current version of the GOP has fought science at every turn and reason. On that issue in particular, though, there are at least some, not enough, there's some willing to say enough. William Marsh is a state representative in New Hampshire, elected to 4 terms. Until this week, he was a Republican. But he's also an ophthalmologist, the town's health officer for 20 years. He has a staunch record of advocating for public health measures. And he says the tipping point was this week when his colleagues organized a rally opposing President Biden's plan to require vaccinations for federal and private sector workers. So he planned on retiring quietly. They didn't do that. Instead, he switched parties. He is now a Democrat. Here's his reasoning, given to the Washington Post. Quote, "It is not in the interest of the public to allow COVID to spread in New Hampshire as it has in Florida. I am a doctor first, so I stood up for my patients and said, I am done with this." He goes on to say, quote, "I have come to realize a majority of Republicans, both locally and in the New Hampshire House, hold values which no longer reflect traditional Republican values. And so I am recognizing the reality that today's Republican Party is no longer the party I first joined when campaigning for President Reagan so many years ago." Joining our coverage, New York Times political and investigative reporter Nick Confessori, also an MSNBC contributor, Michael Steele, still here. I mean, huge round of applause, Michael Steele, for him for taking a stand. And you look at what happened in California. It's a loser to be pro-disease and indifferent to death. But Republicans are speeding down this anti-science, almost, A.B. Stoddard had a great word for it. It's COVID radicalization. And that is the GOP brand.
Yeah, and it proves the adage that, people don't leave their parties leave them. And, when you have individuals like this, who is, as he said, first and foremost a doctor, so he knows what his professional oath requires of him. He's also well aware of what his elected oath requires of him. And when they are incompatible, which they are in this case, in order to sustain his work on both fronts, he decided to stand with his people. And a lot of folks are seeing that happen more and more. You saw that narrative play out in California this week. And I know a lot of folks around Washington trying to, poo-poo that and say, oh, it wasn't as big a deal. And, Newsom was going to get reelected anyway. Well, that wasn't your posture going into this. They saw this as a lot of Republicans saw this as a real opportunity to not just win California, but to send the message that what they've been advocating is valuable, and a lot more people are buying into it. And that's just not the case. And I think, I would say, well, they need to reconsider their stance going into the 22 cycle. But you and I, Nicole, know they won't, because there's still money and power associated with this position. And as long as that is the case, they're willing to risk the American people or the constituents that they represent telling them no more time in office if it means that they can skirt by and get by just enough to win enough that they can force down the throats of the American people, something that the American people clearly don't want. You see that in Florida, and you also see the consequences of it.
Well, Nick, the problem with anti-science COVID as the Republican brand is they're not walking the walk. Tucker Carlson has been vaccinated. Sean Hannity has been vaccinated. Rupert Murdoch has been vaccinated. Brian, they've all been vaccinated. You know how I know that? It's their company's policy. They couldn't work there if they hadn't been vaccinated. This is a White House statement to CNN. Today's news from Fox News follows a trend we're seeing all across the country. Vaccination and testing requirements work. We're glad they stepped up to protect their workforce and strengthen the economy, and we encourage them to convey to their audience that these types of practices will protect their employees, their communities, and the economy. Fox News is telling their viewers to jump off the top of the building when they're jumping into a, soft mat. They're lying to their viewers.
Well, look, Fox has two conflicting business imperatives here, Nicole. The first imperative is to stay in business and keep the doors open. It's bad for Fox if Sean Hannity or Steve Doocy is in the hospital with Delta. On the other hand, they have an audience that feeds on rage and anger about everything that they put in front of them. And the latest one is COVID vaccine and vaccine mandates. There always has to be a culture war about something. It's what keeps people tuned in and keeps the ratings up. So they got to pick those fights. And unfortunately, we see this harmonic convergence, I think, between the political imperatives on the right in organized politics and the anti-vax movement that was there a long time ago, but which is newly powerful on social media, on Facebook, other platforms.
They've also taken it to such a grotesque, almost sort of perverse level. I think Tucker Carlson's on his way to Trinidad to look for Nicki Minaj's cousin's brother's fiance and his health issues. And I wonder, Michael Steele, when enough losing will be enough losing. I mean, Donald Trump probably only had to do this much better in just pretending to notice the death and disease and suffering on his watch. Republicans have been wiped out in every election that has taken place since the pandemic began to ravage our country. And now everyone that's dying is unvaccinated. I'm not saying they all watch Fox News, but everyone that watches Fox News hears this same muddled message on public health safety measures like masking and vaccine mandates. When does the losing, if not the moral failure, make them stop?
Well, that's a political calculation for sure. One that for some members, they don't want to risk their reelect, so they've softened their position. They've taken a different stance. For other members, they lean further into it. So it's, you can, look at it on a case-by-case, district-by-district basis, and, okay, it'll be what it is. But I think your question really begs a broader point, and that is, as a matter of a national narrative for a national party, are you a party that has bought into death and disease for the sake of power and money and false freedoms? Or are you, what exactly are you trying to say here? And these realities are going to be what 2022 are about.
Yeah, I mean, no.
How do you make that case?
And you can't turn on a dime. I mean, Nick, they seem to have left themselves no margin for a pivot.
I'm not sure that the election in California is a great way of interpreting how this will play in congressional races around the country. In California, there are a lot of Democrats and not as many Republicans. And if you run a right-wing talk radio host in California for statewide office, it's probably going to lose against the incumbent Democrat. And I will just say, we should just be really clear about this. This hesitancy and this resistance to mandates is not a purely right-wing phenomenon. You find it in New York City. You find it in Brooklyn. You find it in unions where there are real battles over these vaccine mandates down in Washington and around the country. And there's a bigger crisis here, which is that everybody is distrustful and everyone wants to be their own expert, do their own research. And to me, that points to a bigger problem more broadly in our culture and our society. Yeah,
there's some great reporting in the Washington Post this week about wellness influencers being big vectors of vaccine disinformation. You're right, you can find it anywhere. Nick Confessori, thank you for joining us. Michael, sticking around.